We are turning the page to a new season, hopefully getting things turned around here for the Orange and Black, and it starts with a brand new head coach. Now, he is, of course, not exactly a stranger to the area. He's only coached a few preseason games, but I believe your relationship goes back a little while with Rick Tocchet. What are your impressions of him as a player and a coach, and what should fans expect from Tocchet in his first season?
Well, he's obviously savvy with the media and friendly to fans for what that's worth to go in. I mean, Torts, he's back on ESPN, right? So,
Yeah.
well, obviously, he knows his way around the media. But I think there was a misconception, Bill, about bringing Tocchet in as just like this ex-Flyer. He's a really good coach, as witnessed by the job he did with Vancouver, even the job he did with Vancouver after the really big year with a mess and a general manager that just had all sorts of leaks throughout the front office, all the stuff he had to deal with star players. Still, you never saw anything where it was really turned into a riot in the locker room or whatever. And he's a real good communicator. I think a good hockey coach is at a base level, like knows the game, obviously. But I think with Talk, I think it's important, and he knows that he relies heavily on his assistants to go through systems, power play, stuff like that. I was watching today, and I was watching how he was, he's a pretty active 60-year-old to go out there on. I mean, I know what it's like. I mean, your ankles hurt after 50 when you go out on the ice and play and try to show guys stuff. But it was really reminded me of really paring this down to in their defensive zone to kind of push the play outside, play inside out hockey, just like basic stuff like that. But I do think that there's a high energy that comes with him. I think there's a different kind of communication that comes with him, obviously, than Tortorella. Tocchet might be guilty of anything, of over communicating, calling guys up and stuff. But I think that's going to play well in the future with, let's say, one of the Hughes brothers wants to land here in Philadelphia at some point.
No, that was when he first got hired, when it seemed like it was inevitable they were going with Tocchet. I was skeptical of just former Flyer, so's the GM, so's the president. Like, are we just doing this thing all over again in a 21st century version? Then talking to Tocchet for a few minutes, I got it. I was like, oh, yeah, excellent communicator. And you just look at the players who loved him. It's not just hard-nosed dudes who you think he might remind him of himself. Sidney Crosby still talks to him on the regular. He was thought of as the Phil Kessel whisperer. Quinn Hughes was begging Vancouver to bring him back. Like, these are superstar players who seem to get along real well. So I do think maybe there was a little bit in the beginning, but I think through a few games, just a few media appearances, people are starting to really warm up to Tocchet, and I'm very much looking forward to this experience. I think it's going to be vastly different from the last one, if nothing else. It was an adventure.
Yeah, it was must-watch TV, Torch.
Oh yeah,
I got to say that. And but when you look at to me, the most telling aspect of Tocchet was what happened to the Penguins when he left as an assistant coach. I mean, they just tanked in the playoffs afterwards. I mean, they barely got through anything after he left, and now he's going back to Team Canada for the Olympics over there in Italy. So I've very highly thought of. I don't know that any coach would have a magic wand to turn this team into a playoff team right away. I think that's I think he's going to get branded a little bit with that, unless I'm really, and I hope I'm really mistaken, and there are chances to kind of qualify for postseason. It's been a long time, but I think it's going to. I don't care how good a coach you are. I think it's going to be a real mountain to climb to get to the postseason here.
They're going to get in because they're going to go 10-0 in shootouts, Al. That's my prediction. They're just going to get all those extra points from the shootouts. All right. I want to ask you.
Maybe.
I want to ask you about Jett Luchanko. It looks like, at least for now, he has made the team. We will see if he gets the 9-game tryout, if he goes back early, or, hey, we've seen it with Lucas Spiza about 10 years ago. He stays for 30 games, and then they send him back to juniors. We hear from Danny Briere today, no guarantee. Luchanko's, going to play every night. We'll see where he is. We'll be assessing it every day. What should we expect from Jett Luchanko? What are your expectations from the 19-year-old?
Well, I never thought I'd hear Lucas. I never thought I'd hear that name again in relation to anybody on what went on here. I think part of this is I'm wondering about a trade in the in juniors to get him to another organization there, where I think they're a little bit worried about his development. If it's not hands on with them, at least early here, they can control that. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know how much influence you have as an NHL team to kind of coerce a trade somewhere, but I think that might be part of the reason here. He does have to play, though. I mean, you can't just hang around and not play. But I do think watching him play earlier this year and last year, I think there's some benefit to being the big man on campus, whether it's with your team or then internationally when you play, that you kind of gain something there. He looked hesitant to me. When you look at it, no matter how much a team sport it is, there's a certain selfishness that goes with making it to the pros. And I thought at times he lacked a little bit of that. He needs a little bit of tip it in him to just take it and go. I thought that might come along, but I think ultimately, I mean, they think they've got a pretty good player here, a gem here, and where they got him. He's still very young, but I do think that they're going to be very careful on developing him as a player, and that's why I think they're going to kind of keep here, see what he does, but you got to get him in a lineup. Pointless to have him here and just sit, even if it's for the 9 games or whatever.
That's Charlie and I talked about that today. Like, yeah, it would be nice if he could play for the Phantoms, but he just can't now. And if the option is OHL or NHL, they're going to keep him around at least for a little bit so they can have their hands in his development. But you kind of touched on it. Do you think if he was playing in London with the Hunters and, everyone had each other on speed dial, it would be like, yeah, send him back. That's fine.
I think any NHL team, if you told them they could trade their affiliates in the minor leagues and said you can go play there and hunt for Hunter, they'd all do it. I think there's no question about it. I do think one of the values of the Flyers front office with Jonesy and Briere is relationships with people like that to come in and not just that, but even checking on players that you might be drafting that played against them. So, I mean, I think that is definitely part of it. He's going to be an interesting case on what goes on here, but I don't think there'll be any harm for him to go in and just take some level of play by the throat and just be the guy and get some confidence that way.
All right, last thing here, Al. I really appreciate you making the time for me today. Trevor Zegras, one of the newer Flyer additions. Everybody is excited about the flashy plays, the potential for, power play time with Michkov, the things they can do together. Do you see it in Zegras? Do you see the potential to get back to where he was and maybe even further ascend to that star level?
Yeah, I do. I mean, this is before watching him even in the preseason. I was really impressed talking to him in the offseason during the summer when he came down to Philadelphia, and even talking to family members about him coming in. I think the misconception here, when you're I'm going to call a sexy player, but a cover guy for games and stuff. There aren't many athletes in Philadelphia better hair than Taron Hatcher. He's one of them. So when you're a guy like that, you look at him and I think you get what I was looking for was to look past the sizzle, look past the Michigan attempts, look past the give and go with Michkov and whatever. What I was really wanted to hear was that he was an equivalent of Michkov in terms of a rink rat. And that's what I think I'm seeing. That to me was more important. Ultimately, the other stuff's going to help. I mean, it helps sell tickets or whatever. And he's a fun guy, and that does not hurt, especially with a franchise looking for identity like this. But the more important element to me is watching at practice, stays late, does this, does that, works hard. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see that the stuff under the surface is like, are you a hockey player? Or do you want the game more than the stuff that comes with the game? That is what is important. And I think there was a bit of a misconception with him in that he was all sizzle. There's a lot of stake there. And I think Tocchet's a good guy to get it out of him. And as importantly, Michkov, being the rink rat that he is, I think is a great combination to come up. And so is a guy. I think it also helps a guy like Drysdale or York. There's a pretty good cool kids table at the lunch
Yes.
area here, but they work hard, and that's what's really important to me.
No, yeah, it's just seeing Zegras right away kind of gravitate toward Michkov, and they're working on one-timers together. They're playing crossbar. It's one, you just like to see guys who like playing hockey, and two, if they're working on stuff together, that's only going to make them both better.
Yeah, I just don't want to do like the first 3 games and Scott Hartnell and I are screaming about how the hell can they hit the crossbar on 3 shots. That I don't need to see.
Well, that's maybe Misha's just trying to work after he misses the hat trick. He's trying to work on not. I
think they're making.
Hitting the post.
I think they want the goalies to pump up the goalies, maybe.
All right, Al. Thank you for joining me today. This is, of course, Al Morganti from NBC Sports and WIP, Hockey Hall of Famer, joining us for this season preview series that we're going to continue going through over the next few days. Puck drops on Thursday against the defending champion Florida Panthers. Al, we'll see you then.
Okay, no worries. Have a good one.